G'day everyone, James Edge here, PGA professional down at Eastlake Golf Club, and I'm going to go through drill of the week. So drill of the week is the green reading drill, and this is going to be great for any golfer out there that might have the near perfect putting stroke. They may have really good speed control on the green, but for some reason they're still struggling to have less putts. They're having some 3 putts or not holding those short putts that we really should hold. And the reason is probably because they don't have a green reading process or system to help give them the correct start line or aim point to help them make more putts. So if you feel like you're this golfer, then the green reading drill is going to be great for you. So what you're going to need for this drill is you're going to need a putter, of course. I've got my Spider Tour putter, and I've got my golf balls here. We're going to need 3 of them. I've got my TaylorMade TP5X golf balls. We've also got some colored lines here, which I'll explain how I'm going to use that in the drill. We've also got a digital scale here. This is going to be really important to help train the feet or calibrate the feet for slope. I'll talk more about that shortly. I've also got a stimp meter here. This is not essential. This is just more for the video, for you to understand what stimp is and how it's measured and how it's incorporating green reading. I've also got a string line here on the ground with a string attached, and then finally I've got some tees. So that's what you're going to need for the drill. If you haven't done so already, if you could please like, share or subscribe to my YouTube channel below. Getting right into the green reading drill now, we're going to talk about what is it, where do we do it, why do we do it, and how do we do it. So what is the green reading drill? The green reading drill is essentially a drill that is incorporating 2 types or systems or processes of green reading. The first being plumbobbing and the second being Aimpoint. Obviously, I'm going to go through this pretty briefly. If you want to get more details on either one of those putting systems or processes, go to their allocated websites. But that's what we're going to do, and we're going to really operationalize those processes. How do we practice those 2 green reading systems, or how can we merge the 2 together to help make us get the best read or the most accurate read as possible? So that's what we're trying to achieve in the drill. Where are we doing it? Obviously on the putting green. And why are we doing it? We're doing it because we want you to have, or I want you to have the best, give yourself the best chance to find that correct start line or aim point, and actually have a consistent way of going about it, so that by the time you get on the golf course, it's more autonomous. So if you practice this, then you're actually going to go on the golf course, you're going to be quick at it, so you're not going to slow down pace of play, which is really important with green reading. We don't want to slow down pace of play. You feel more confident and you just trust it more before you get out there, so you don't hesitate as well. And then finally, how are we going to do it? So let's get into it. We're going to start with the plumb bobbing component. What is plumb bobbing and how do you go about it? So pretty simply, plumb bobbing is where we're going to use the putter, and the putter is always trying to find the perfect vertical line. Regardless of what slope your feet are standing on, it's going to find a perfect vertical line, which we're going to use up against the hole to help give us a gauge of where we need our straight putt to go to. So with plumb bobbing, one of the cons with it is really you can't use this outside of 20 foot. It is really unreliable, or double breakers. I wouldn't suggest using plumb bobbing. And this is very much of the 2 systems or processes I'm going to talk to you about. This one is not the most accurate, but it's definitely a little bit easier to understand, and you can implement it straight away. So that's the benefit of the plumb bobbing. So what we're going to do is I've got a ball, we've got a roughly a 6 meter putt here towards the hole here with the white pole. And what we're going to do is we're going to stand about 3 paces away from the ball. I'm going to lift up the putter in my the opposite arm to my dominant eye. So I've got a dominant left eye. So I've got my left eye open, right eye closed, and I've got my putter in my right hand. And I'm going to raise it above my head so I can see it's essentially dissecting my golf ball, and it's dissecting the hole. Now, because my feet are standing on a slight slope, it's going to try to get that straight line perfect, because gravity is going to straighten it up. And then from there, it's going to give me a line if I need to aim left or right of the hole. It's telling me to aim more left here, and I'm getting about a cup and a half to the left. Okay, so it's really important with plumb bobbing, use your dominant eye. And a way to figure that out is you could essentially find a ball in the green, get your fingers in a triangle, look so the ball is in the middle of the triangle with both eyes, then close your right eye to start with. If the ball is still in the middle like mine is, then you probably know your left eye dominant. If it has moved, then open your right eye, close your left eye, and then if the ball is now in the middle, it's probably your right eye that's dominant. That's really important because it's going to give you a more accurate read. But as I said, essentially holding that the putter shaft up, dissecting the ball, which will roughly go through somewhere near the bottom part of your shaft, and then the hole will roughly be somewhere at the top part of your shaft. And then the shaft gravity will slowly tilt it to the left or right, and that'll let you know which side of the hole to aim for. Once you understand this and you do this, it's actually a really simple process, really quick to do, but it's not necessarily super accurate. And as I said, not good for double breakers and not good outside of 20 foot. So this is where Aimpoint's going to come in. And Aimpoint is a little bit more detailed, but it needs to be because it's more accurate. So first thing for Aimpoint that you need to train, we're going to have three tools, I guess, for Aimpoint green reading. You're going to have your eyes, you're going to have your fingers, and you're going to have your feet. So first thing we need to train or calibrate is our feet, and this is where the color lines come into play and the digital scale. So the digital scale, we're going to turn that on and put it on to percentage, so it's going to let us know the slope percentage. And for Aimpoint, across the world, 0 is flat and the spectrum goes all the way up to roughly 4%. So you can't have any, it's very rare you'd have, I don't think you can actually have a green that is more than 4%. So you know that the slope is going to be somewhere between 0 and 4%. So keeping that in mind, what I'm going to do is just show you an example of how you could train your feet to a percentage. So I'm standing here on a slope, I'm turning on my digital scale, and then from there it's giving me a reading, and I've got about 1% here. So you can place down the blue line, for example, that's 1. And what you're going to do is just, once I do a few more, we'll go through a bit of a cycle where we measure the difference feelings for each of the gradients. So then if I go over here, and obviously on your putting green, you might need to move further away, but I'm just doing this in the camera view so you can understand the process. But you might have to go to one side of the green to get a different slope depending on how flat or undulating your green is. So the red here, you can see here, it's closer to 1.6%. So I'd say I always round up for Aimpoint, so it's 2%. And then if I did another one up here, this here as well is about that 1.5–2%. In theory, you'd ideally have a section on the golf or the putting green that you practice on, a 0, a 1, 2, 3, and 4%er. And what you would do is you would just go through a cycle, standing on them, even closing your eyes if you need to, and feeling what's the 1% feel like? What does the 2% feel like? And keep going through that cycle all the way to 4%. And then you've got a bit of a calibration of what each of those numbers represent or should feel like. And again, doesn't need to be perfect. The reason that's really important is that's going to help the next part of the green reading for Aimpoint. So with Aimpoint, we need to measure our putt that's in front of us. So I've got a 6-meter putt to the hole here, and slightly breaking putt. You always get your measurements from the middle third of your putt. So for example, a 6-meter putt, which I've got here, we're going to do it from 2 meters and then 4 meters. So the front of the middle third, back of the middle third, because the ball in the first third is going too quick because that's where it has the most pace. So you're not going to, the slope doesn't affect it as much. It's going to affect it later down in the putt. So we'll walk along roughly shoulder width, get that measurement, okay, roughly kind of 1, you know, or just below, probably 1, 1.5. Yeah, definitely more 1, probably 2 here. So because I had a larger number there, 2% is the number I'm going to use, because you always go over the larger number. And this is where the fingers come in. So now that I've got my slope percentage number, and I know my body was sloping more that way, I know the aim point is going to be left side of the hole. So this is where you now use your fingers, and 1 finger equals 1%, 2 equals 2%, 3, 3%, 4, 4%. We're going to go and use the 2 fingers because it was 2% is what I calibrated. And we're going to put the fingers in the middle of the hole, and then the other finger will be tilted more to the left because that's the high side. And we're going to get our aim point on the furthest part of my finger on the left. So let's give that a go now. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, firstly, what you would do with a T is you'd place it where your finger, the furthest point of your finger was pointing, and it was over here. Roughly 2.5 cups to the left. Probably it was more 2. Sorry, let's go there. Yes, 2.5. And this is where I'll help the viewers and all of you understand the aim point, or the straight putt here. So this is where the string line's helpful. You don't need this when you're doing the drill, but it can be helpful if you've got one. So I'm going to bring this all the way past the hole, and just be aware this line is all calibrating to working off what Aimpoint recommends. What I'd recommend as well is about a foot. The distance of the speed of the putt should be a foot past the hole. So I'm going to make this go straight through that T from the start point, and that now gives us, or that helps us visualize that start line we need it to go on. And then you grab your 3 balls, because obviously you might hit the first putt, not execute the stroke properly, or you might have the speed wrong. So give yourself 3 goes to really check to see if that's the right line. So starting off, doing your normal putting stroke, trying to hit it along that line. Okay, finished about 1.5 feet past, but it was high, or went a bit high, and that's because the speed was a bit too quick, plus it started a little bit left of my green line. So this one, I'll try to make sure it stays more along that green line and not pull it so far left. And I've hit that one a bit softer, so that's come shorter. So now finally I'm going to do my final putt, and now I've got an idea of the pace and I've got an idea of the start line. I should be able to get this pretty close. Okay, so you can see there, 3 goes it took. I finally got the right start line after getting the right read from my aim point process, and I had the right speed, so I was able to hold the putt. So using these 2 methods, you can use them in conjunction or separately. Plumb bobbing, a lot simpler, not as accurate. Aim point, a little bit more difficult, but definitely more accurate. And you can train both. So that's what this drill's all about, giving you a way to train them and get better so you're quicker on the course and know how to green read as well. So if you like this video, if you could please hit the like button below. If you want to see similar content, whether it's off the tee, approach the green, around the green, putting, pitching, course strategy, or even mindset, then please like, share, or subscribe to my YouTube channel below. And remember, persistence pays off, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.